If she's making so much progress, why is every video she makes the same? The headpiece is already on and we're cracking straight on with the video. So today we're actually going to be looking at Linda Sun, somebody who I have covered many times before, but somebody I haven't actually spoken about for a fair while. As the year comes to a close and 2020 comes to an end, it seems appropriate to discuss this video because this is very much about Linda and how she actually transformed her body and her life in this previous year, discussing things like body dysmorphia, glowing up, and her new mindset, which I thought was very appropriate for obviously the end of the year.
My relationship with food this year can look something like this. And well, as you can see, there were a lot of bad days. We're ending somewhere better than we started. Progress is still progress, no matter how small.
It's actually a really valid point and a message I'm really glad Linda promoted here, because this is something I actually speak about as well. Progress is never going to be linear, and by that I mean progress will never look like this. You will never start here and end here. There will be ups, there will be downs, there will be up, down, 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 up. We'll be all over the place. It'll be scattered all over the shop. If you can look at where you started and see where you finished, if you finished in a better place than you began, that is progress. Despite the progress not being linear, and despite you maybe being in better positions throughout the year, if you are ahead of where you began, you have made progress, and that's something to remember. But if flip around, if you haven't made progress and you're not ahead of where you began, that's okay too. Progress is not easy. Progress is not something that is guaranteed. It's something we can try our best to achieve, but just because we don't achieve it doesn't mean we haven't done our best. If this year didn't go exactly to plan and you feel like you haven't made the progress you were hoping, then next year's another year. You have time. There is no rush. Give yourself a break and understand that life gets in the way sometimes. Things out of your control do present themselves and there's not a lot you can do about it. So be kind to yourself and understand that you still have time.
If you work out to punish your body for looking a certain way, punish yourself for enjoying your favorite foods, if you have to keep punishing yourself to maintain a life or a body or a diet, you're gonna dread the next workout. You're gonna want that food that much more, and you're gonna end up hating the journey.
I think it's actually a really valid point. And again, I'm really impressed that Linda actually brought this up. Training is not a punishment. Training is a privilege for those who wish to pursue that training journey. If you are fueled by negativity and you fuel that journey with negativity and hatred, as Linda said, is that you are not going to enjoy the process. And part of the exciting thing about these changes that we are making to ourselves, physically, emotionally, and mentally, is the process. Seeing where we started, going along the journey, seeing where we end up. Do you know what I mean? The whole storyline from chapter 1 to chapter 10 is exciting. It's interesting because you can look back on it and be like, wow, I've done that. I can't believe I did that. It's very easy to see things like this as almost like a burden that, oh, I have to do this. At the end of the day, you don't have to do anything you don't want to do. But if you do want to do it, be thankful that you're in a position that you are able to do it, and be thankful that you have that control over yourself, that you can make the changes you want to make. Find a reason to love what you're doing and find a reason to love the journey, because if you hate the whole process, you're probably not going to stick at it. This is something I say often, but the best training, the best diet plan, whatever it may be for you, is the one that you can remain most consistent with. And that's usually the one you actually really enjoy. And the thing that really kind of put that in perspective for me was a few years ago, one of my closest friends, he'd been my friend since day one, since I was a baby. He'd just come out of university, he'd got a first in his degree, he landed an amazing graduate job, and he was very active, he was a former rugby player, he was very fit, very healthy, we used to train together sometimes. Like I said, he's one of my closest friends in the world. He unfortunately developed chronic fatigue syndrome. He came over on Christmas Day a few years ago. I want to say it was 2017, and I remember him saying to me, he's like, I've been feeling really run down for about 6 weeks, I don't know what's going on. I was thinking, oh, probably a nasty flu. Fast forward a few months, turns out it wasn't a nasty flu, he actually was ill, which then developed into chronic fatigue syndrome. And for 3 years of his life, he couldn't do anything. He'd see me occasionally where he'd be able to hack socialising for half an hour, and he couldn't do any more. He'd try and do some working out. Bear in mind, he came from a very fit and healthy background, and after 2 push-ups, maybe 3, I think 3 was his personal best, he'd collapse to the floor, so I can't do any more. Then he'd be bedridden for days afterwards. And that really highlighted to me that what a privileged position I'm in to be healthy enough to train and to be able to pursue the things I want to pursue. Because despite what he wants to do, he lost his graduate role because of it. He lost a job he was really thankful to get. It ruined his confidence. It ruined his mental health. Because when he did start improving around the events of 2020 we won't speak about, his confidence to go back and socialise and integrate with the world was shot. He hadn't done it for so long he didn't really know what to do. And at that point, no one was allowed to socialise anyway, so he felt he'd spent 3 years in isolation, and now he felt like he was finally able to come out of that isolation. He was now stuck in isolation for another reason. And again, he's in a far better place now. He's active, he's a lot healthy, he's working, he's doing the things he wants to do. Although he's not 100%, he's in a far better place now. It still highlighted to me almost how much I took training for granted.
You're not all the things you don't like about yourself, or your mistakes, or all the things you want to change. are enough. Not what you do, not what you look like, not your job, not your grades, not only after you have your whole life figured out. You are enough right now.
I know I've expressed some concerns regarding her content in the past, but thus far she's making a lot of good points, and she's making some really valid points surrounding mental health. Especially during periods where mental health might be struggling, it's very easy to hyperfixate on the negatives and the things we don't like about ourselves, and assume that our worth is based on what we dislike, when that's not the case. The big thing to remember is actually something my friend told me earlier, which is what their counsellor said to them. It's all well and good understanding what logic tells you, but what really matters is what you believe. So logically you could say, well, I'm this kind of person, I'm great, I'm fantastic, I'm amazing. If you don't believe that logic doesn't hold as much value. It's about identifying what you can do to shift that mindset from logic tells me this to I tell me this. I accept I will never love every part of my body. I will never love every aspect of who I am. There are things I can do to improve who I am, but for that I'm actually thankful, because if I didn't think I could improve, I wouldn't try and be better. But I can't let those things define me, and I can't let those things define my worth. Although your worth, to an extent, should certainly be a product of how you feel about yourself, should that worth not also potentially be influenced by how the people you really care about feel about you? Your friends, your family, your loved ones. If they adore you because you do amazing things, should that not contribute to your worth? Because clearly, not only is that worth dictated by how you're feeling, but it's also dictated by the behaviours in which other people have noticed. That worth no longer purely being dictated by our mind and what our mind is thinking, but also dictated by how we behave and how we treat others, which is going to be noticed by the ones that's exposed to it and the ones we really care about. The opinion of yourself is certainly the most important one. The opinions of the people you care about and you love certainly hold value too.
For me, Heartbreak was like the whole world was drained of color for a little while, but then slowly I began to see.
That's actually really interesting, and Linda spoke about how the world was drained of colour, because when I was battling periods of depression, I often described it as the world lost colour. Everything seemed grey. I think heartbreak is something that many of us unfortunately experience. I actually went through the most significant heartbreak of my life thus far back in 2020 at the end of it. I'd obviously lost my girlfriend at the time. I felt like life could never improve because I was in a period where I thought everything was planned. I had these desires to progress and move forward with this individual, the one I genuinely thought I would spend the rest of my life with. To have that suddenly and very abruptly taken away from me, I didn't really know what to do. My self-worth went to the bin, my confidence disappeared, and my desire to achieve anything other than to lie on the sofa for days on end and cry disappeared. But conveniently, one of the things that really took me out of that negative mindset was actually you. This happened on September 28th, 2020. I remember dates randomly, don't ask why. And then come towards the end of March, beginning of April, the YouTube channel started growing. Between that period, I kind of fallen out of love with YouTube, not because of YouTube, but because I was just extremely suicidal and depressed. I didn't really see my life progressing much beyond that year because I didn't think I would make it that far, and I thought I would do something probably to bring it to a close. Then the YouTube channel started progressing, and I finally kind of reminded me of what my purpose was and why I wanted to do YouTube in the first place. I tried for years to make something of this to try and help people in an industry I really genuinely care about, being the realm of fitness and mental health, and then suddenly it started moving again, and then I was like, you know what, no more feeling this way. I acknowledge that mental health is certainly not my fault, but it is very much my responsibility, and it was my responsibility to do what I could to try at least to make myself feel better. And I did. And that's, again, thanks to you guys, because you gave me that opportunity and you gave me that kind of nudge I needed to say, Harry, no more. That's happened. That cannot be changed, but what you can change is what you're doing now. And that what I'm doing now led to the further creation of YouTube content, which then has obviously led to the large growth of TFNL, the YouTube channel, and now the brand. Without you guys and without you giving me this opportunity, I don't know where I would be. You helped me out of a very dark place. And I think this is why it's really hard for people to fully understand how much I appreciate my audience and how much I appreciate the position I'm in, because I was somewhere I didn't want to be, but you really encouraged me to get out of that place and remember what I wanted to achieve. So again, I say it all the time, but hopefully this gives you a bit of an insight into why I'm so thankful for my audience. You largely saved me from spiraling a lot further than I was already spiraling. So for that, I will be eternally grateful, and I will always thank you.
And more me than I've ever been.
And I have me to thank for that.
No matter the progress you feel like you haven't made this year, have you ever considered maybe you're just measuring your progress wrong?
Again, very valid points regarding transformations there. Are you measuring your progress wrong? Because progress can be measured in so many different ways. But the one thing, this is kind of the conclusion I wanted to speak about, that does linger in my mind, and I feel like this may be an unpopular opinion, is despite how much I appreciate Linda's message and what she is trying to achieve, and I think she is helping a lot of people, she'll often speak about how she's made so much progress, which is fantastic. But if she has made so much progress, I question, why is nearly every video the same. She'll preach this message about all the progress she's made throughout the year, which is fantastic, but then in a few months' time, she'll preach the same message because she'll claim that she's only just started making progress again. So again, it's just a message to me that I find confusing, is that how can you promote and preach that you're making so much progress, yet preach the same message every video as if that progress that you're now making is new and current? It's just something that has been lingering in my mind for a while, and that's just a thought I want to leave you with today. So that is it. That is the video. Comment question of the week this week is not necessarily going to be comment question of the week, but more just a question surrounding the growth guide. Firstly, thank you to everyone who has acquired the growth guide. I genuinely can't express how overwhelmed I am by the positive response and the support, so again, thank you. But a few people asked me about the home workout side of things, and this is going to be the comment question of the week, so I can maybe explain a bit. Every principle within that guide is applicable to home workouts. The only thing that's really different is the fact that the program is more tailored towards the gym environment, although it can be easily changed if you swap out barbells for dumbbells, machines and cables for bands. So it is very easily adjusted and altered for those who want to work out at home. That being said, the growth guide is like the foundation guide. It's the foundation. I will be releasing add-on guides over the course of the future that essentially expand on elements of the growth guide for specific purposes. So the next guide I release will be a home workout guide that again expands on the growth guide, but for home workouts specifically, whilst programming and tailoring to those who are working out at home. Then I might release a body part dominant guide, let's say a glute guide after that, which would then expand on the principles of the growth guide, but tailor it more towards glute training and then programming accordingly. So it's a very progressive thing, and the growth guide is simply the foundation. If you like the video, then please let me know you like the video by liking the video. If you haven't already, please do consider tickling the red button down below to subscribe to the channel, and maybe also by tickling that bell next to it so you get notified when I upload every week, twice a week. And if you too have a question you want me to answer at the end of the next video, then please do consider drop it down below in the comment section for comment question of the week, and I shall do so. I hope everybody has a fantastic Christmas, and I know that this can be a really hard period for a lot of people, so please don't hesitate to reach out if you need somebody to talk to. My DMs are always open. Thank you for tolerating me. Thank you for tolerating my last video before Christmas, and thank you for tolerating the video.